Hey, what's up, guys? Got another episode for you of Tuned In Sports, and we are going to be bringing you guys more content in the future and just continually bringing more videos out. My name is Bryson. This is Bennett, and our friend Don from Dent Sports. Make sure you guys check them out. They got content coming focused around the Denver and Detroit teams. Great content coming, and make sure you guys just check it out. But today, we're going to be talking a little bit about some college football. I know, speaking for myself personally, in some respects, I like watching college football more than the pros. There's just something about college football that I just love. The funny thing is that I don't even watch college basketball, and you'd think, oh, well, you like college football, you must like college basketball. I don't watch college basketball unless it's NCAA tournament. But football, I am on it every single week. As a matter of fact, I've missed more pro games than I have college games.
Yeah, usually with the college game, and especially if you do it with the live experience, it's just so much better.
Exactly.
You go to NFL type stadiums, and they're more like a library for the most part. I mean, I'm not going to exclude the old Mile High Stadium because that place was crazy. But when they went to I guess it's Empowered now.
Yeah, Empowered.
Field with now. It's a whole different atmosphere with it. But if you go up to CU Boulder and they actually have a team that's worth watching, it's a fun experience.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah.
As opposed to a game.
Yeah.
Now, me and Bennett can't speak on that. We've never been to a professional football game yet.
No.
It's in the plans. We're going to make it happen one of these days. But for now, we have been to a couple of college games, and those are definitely fun. Like he said, different atmosphere, just especially when the team is playing well. The excitement is just like, ooh, yeah. Like a handful of years ago when Nevada managed to pull off a win against Boise with that kick when Boise was undefeated or whatever in Nevada. It was just the buzz and everything was just like, it's super awesome. Yeah. So with that being said, though, college football, something I love watching, and it's super exciting that the season managed to get underway. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully they can have a full season. And all these positive turns with, the Big Ten just announced recently that they're going to be resuming play hopefully here in October sometime. And other teams and other conferences hopefully going in that direction. Hopefully we can have some semblance of a actual season. We'll see what ends up happening. And hopefully, the players can remain safe and all that stuff long enough where we can continue to have that and it doesn't have to get scrapped.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that they're able to, remote into their classes.
Yep.
And you should be able to have a season with it. But I don't think you have to worry about remoting in.
No, I don't think so. Especially not down in Alabama.
No, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think any worry about that with the major schools.
Yeah, let's just say I don't think we're necessarily known for the GPA category. I will leave that to Vanderbilt, but on the football school, we beat the crap out of them every year. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't think there's many times where Alabama is losing.
So with that being said, we mentioned before he talked about being at Boulder, Colorado for a game. He's been a Buffaloes fan all your life, right?
Many years, yeah. I was, unfortunately dates me that, 1990 we actually had a championship out of this whole deal.
Hey.
We do have one, which was good. Lost to Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl the year before, and then we finally beat Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl that year. And
so you got your win back too.
Yeah. Was able to get that, which was huge and a great experience to for that area at that time. With it, because again, you don't expect too much out of Colorado, and especially the past that if you've actually had Colorado history. Had moments here and there in peaks and valleys, but there was a big, huge
gap of just
recruiting and everything else that goes with it,
and a carousel of coaching.
Yeah. But Coach McCarthy was able to get pieces in place.
Yep.
Great coaching staff, and then again was able to recruit the players like Salanisi and Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
Michael Westbrook. Alfred Williams, the list goes on. And Chad Browns, there's big time players,
that weren't just big at Colorado, but big at the next level too.
Nationwide, and then at the next level, up to the Cordell Stewart, and, and all that stuff that goes into it. But it's at to the point that we were hoping that Tucker was actually going to be able to get us back to that legacy that we did, but unfortunately he left to Michigan State.
Yep, I remember that one.
Yeah, and that will stick with me for a long time.
Yep.
Yep.
But so unfortunately, I don't think the Pac-10 has announced yet what they're planning on doing.
12
but
these days, 12.
Pac-12, yeah.
Pac-12, yep. Big Ten has 12 teams, and the Pac-12, 10, you know what I mean? You know how they name it, right?
Why? Yeah. Again, just why,
Yeah, Midwest.
In some respects, just leave it. Who cares how many teams are in? People know this thing for what it was.
Power conference.
Power conference.
Let them do them all.
Number 1, number 2, number 3. But there's advertising to be done. With
regionals.
Yeah, exactly. And the networks, they don't want to say the conference number 1 network.
Yeah.
They'd rather say, the SEC. Oh.
Yeah, that way you can segregate it and have everybody in their little region, and you can pit them against each other.
Yep, exactly. So, unfortunately, though, the Pac-12, they haven't made any announcements on what they're going to do. But fortunately, if it goes like most times, they'll probably fall in line with the Big Ten. And usually the Big Ten just announced that they're hoping to resume in October. So if everything goes according to plan, I think that the Pac-12 will probably end up starting around then as well.
Yeah, that's kind of what they were scheduling is, end of October. I know USC and UCLA really instigated, and again, they have the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, so it takes a little bit more of the restrictions and things like that. But I think once the Team Nike up in Eugene gets on board, that the dominoes will fall because the Ducks and they're a national brand.
Exactly.
And again, with Nike's backing, I'm sure they're going to be able to push any questionable decisions that they need to do with the testing or whatever they need to do. But I fully expect them to be starting playing ball the same as the Big Ten.
Yep, and I mean, in some respects, it's like, what are they waiting for? I mean, we've had a couple of weeks now, and everything seems to be smooth sailing so far. So, there's a lot of money to be made by them having a season, and, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's football, but at the same time, it's a business, and they want to make money, and they want to be able to televise their games, especially when, a lot of people are at home right now, quarantining. Even if they are going to work, they're quarantining the rest of the day. So that's the time to capitalize on the viewership and stuff by saying, hey, well, while everyone's at home, let's put it out there,
No, it was great when Saturday rolled around and it was like, oh, hey, we got some college football games, and that was actually
absolutely,
that was like really cool to see. Like, all right, I'm actually kind of interested at least seeing some college football,
and not just classic replays over and over and over again.
Exactly. So that actually made it kind of interesting and ready to go forward with the season.
Absolutely. And then from my perspective, I'm an Alabama fan, and we are not starting this week, but next week we got a road game against Missouri. If Alabama plays like Alabama plays, I would assume that they should be able to win that. It's going to kind of depend on the quarterback situation. We got that one kid that was there last year still. But I also heard that we got a freshman or somebody that we recruited that's looking pretty good. So
a 5-star recruit?
Yeah. Can you believe it?
No way. How'd you guys pull that off?
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah. He just fell through the pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. One in a million by Saban.
He said no to Arkansas State and somehow ended up with us. So, so we got another guy coming in that apparently has some promise. So I think, in some respects, it's almost like a national championship, or any year without a national championship is a horrible year because we're just so consistently there involved in it. But I have high hopes for the season. Against Missouri, they're kind of a weird team. It's almost like sometimes you're like, why did they move to the SEC? Like they're doing a lot better before, and then other weeks you're like, oh, this is why.
Yeah,
okay.
One of the classic old Big 8 schools, and then went into kind of this weird part with somewhere between Big 12 and Big 10, where they went kind of going to go, and then eventually, smart for them that they went into the SEC.
Yeah, again, exactly.
That's
where the place to be.
That's where you want to play. That's where you want to go. So, but I don't see Drew Lock and his people coming back to Missouri.
No.
So I doubt that this will be much of a competition if Alabama's up to their normal thing. And of course Saban's downplaying everything, like, oh, I don't know. It's
like, well, you're the only one because everybody else is looking to Georgia as the first game.
Yeah.
So
he's pulling the Belichick card. Oh, it's a tough game.
Yeah, all the respect in the world to the other team. They played their Popovich, same thing too, right? Hey, let's not sell it short. These guys are a great team, and blah blah. Wait a minute, how many wins do they have? I'm checking. I'm trying to find the first one. As I'm scrolling.
Exactly.
So, they all do that. It's typical Saban every single year. Winning by 40 at halftime. Oh, I thought we could have played a little better.
Yeah.
The defense gave up.
He's breaking headsets.
Yeah, the defense gave up a field goal. That's unacceptable.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing?
Yeah. So that's.
Where do you guys think you are, Auburn?
Yeah. Yeah. What Texas A&M here or what? Exactly. So again, Alabama. If they play like Alabama, I'm expecting a win. But Missouri, again, they're a usual interesting team. It seems like some weeks they're just on it, and I think they're one of the SEC editions that's definitely performed a little bit better than others. But in some respects, I kind of think, well, you don't know who you're going to get. Some weeks Missouri looks great. Some weeks they look like they don't really belong in the conference. So I think it's definitely not one that they should just look over. But again, like he said, if they play the way they're supposed to be playing, they should be pretty set. And I think they should be able to win the game, road game aside. And really, it's just going to come down to, like most people are saying, how are we going to look against Georgia? Yep. That's really what it's going to come down to. And then later in the season, LSU.
You got the normal, LSU, Georgia, Florida,
and then Auburn.
Florida's the ones that are always in there. And of course, it goes in every conference that you've got with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing in the Pac-12, which I follow probably a little bit more than anybody with it because they're in my region and, connections with things. But, you're going to have the SCs, the Oregons, the Washingtons. Yeah. And then you have all the other teams, I'll put Utah in that upper echelon too. Yeah. But you'll have the secondary ones like the Arizonas, the Oregon States, the CUs, that they don't have the facilities or equipment or that brand that they can pull people into in a consistent level. Yep.
Or in the Washington States, the teams that'll have a couple years here and there where you're like, wow, they could really do something.
Well, it's usually, it's like the Mike Leach thing, right? Guess what? Washington State, okay. And then rough times, Mike Leach comes in, puts the program on the map, recruits heavily, does a fantastic job. And then now where is he at now? He's down in Mississippi, right? Yep. He's in the SEC country. Yep. So guess what he's going to do? He's going to probably do the same thing that he did at Texas Tech and he did at Washington State. And he's going to end up, probably turning Mississippi's program around. I would think.
Oh, yeah. And, again, it's just one of those things where, teams like that where you'll have some seasons here where, oh, wow, he's got a great quarterback come in there. Then when the quarterback goes away, okay, well, we might be down a little bit. But then another quarterback will come in, and they're just solid every season. But for the most part, it's, teams like he said, Washington, Oregon, USC, every single season. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter how many people go pro, who the quarterback is. They're just, you're going to have to contend with them. Mm-hmm. They're just there. They just got history and all this other stuff that helps them. Yeah. But, so Alabama, we open against Missouri. We'll see how that goes. However, the guy to my right here, his team's already played. Well, if you want to call it playing. They kind of didn't show up, but,
I was going to say new coach, right?
New coach.
New coach. This Man, that's just rough. I don't even want to talk about it, really.
You chose the wrong platform for that.
I'm just... No, it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but man, it's not worth talking about. It's not like there wasn't anything happening on the field there. So
yeah, well, there's plenty to talk about with the quarterback. I mean, he definitely looked like he might be the next quarterback of the Saints once Drew Brees. I think you could mold him into a solid little couple of interceptions a game.
They need to get rid of him. That guy. But it kind of goes back to like what you guys were talking about with good recruiting. Usually Florida State is one of those schools that usually was able, at least back in the day. These days, like, they're kind of
mid of the pack.
Yeah,
everybody's picking out of that area, right?
Yep.
I mean, to mention that you already have the big schools, but you even see the big schools in Florida have gone down.
Yeah.
I mean, between Florida State, even Florida's taken a little
bit.
Yeah,
Florida hasn't been.
Miami took a huge step back for a long time.
Yeah.
But then guess who's taken a lot of the recruits and the
Central
talent?
Florida.
Well, Central Florida, Southern Florida, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Florida A&I, you know what I mean? Because Lane Kiffin and all these guys that are coming
giving people a reason to choose something other than
say, hey, do you want to be sitting
for 3 years?
For 3 years and then get your one shot? Or do you want to come down here and play for 3 or 4 years and start and get your name out there?
And be in the same area.
Yeah, and still be in the same area. And you still play those schools.
Yeah.
So you're going to be seen by those other schools that that could have missed out on you.
Yep, so pick your poison.
But yeah.
And more people are saying, you know what? I'll go there.
Yeah. But again, you'll see everybody else, though. I mean, everybody else in the country is going there, too. I mean, your Michigans, Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, even Colorado has, every once in a while, a Florida kid will pop up.
Yeah.
Going to their campus as well. But, between the hotbed, it's just not focused in for those schools anymore.
Yeah.
It's definitely a national hotbed, because the weather's nice all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Kids are playing all year long.
You don't got to sell people on that.
Yeah. The kids are playing all year long, so they're already going to have an advantage, right? Kids here or, up in the Midwest. It's snow.
Yeah. How'd you like to walk around with a T-shirt on in the middle of winter?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds great. Okay.
The crazy thing about the FSU game is, like, just added to my week because, you guys know I'm a Clippers fan, so.
Yeah. Clippers.
My teams just seem to find a way to blow it every week.
Well, at least you
and the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals managed to lose their game at both their games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, with Florida State, it's, again, another transition, right? I mean, ever since the golden days of Bobby Bowden,
yeah.
I mean, that were there. And then even the subsequential taking over from
Jimbo Fisher.
That you had a pretty steady lineage and what's to expect here.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, as soon as Jimbo said, "Nah, I'm out of here," guess what happens? You get a whole regime change. And then if that doesn't work out, then you're going behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
With that, and then it's an uphill climb.
Yep.
And if other teams or other schools around you already have their game plan and set, aka in Alabama or somebody in the SEC, that kid's going to go to the SEC, and he's like, Florida State's nice and cool, but you know what? I want a chance to perform and on the big stage.
Yeah.
Well, one of the main things, like, like a lot of coaches these days aren't getting an opportunity to be there for more than a couple of years. There's no time for something to build, like,
Yeah, there's things with that, but again, I think as you look at Saban, right? I mean, there's a perfect example, right? You had moderate success at Michigan State. He took his hand at Miami Dolphins. X, Y, and Z. Things went up. He found a place in Alabama that was down and out and turned that into...
And LSU, too.
Yeah, national power. Again, LSU's been kind of... because, again, that was, Les Miles, who was on, going back full circle to McCartney's Colorado days.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and Colorado, actually, both.
Yeah.
Michigan and CU.
Yep.
That he was with McCartney on that stuff. And guess what? Since LSU, when he left, guess what happened? That program went...
slide job
on a decline. I mean, they had they had okay talent and they were able to recruit the kids, especially locally in Louisiana and stuff like that. But their biggest piece that they were missing was always the QB spot, because they couldn't have anybody that could throw the ball. If they could have somebody to throw the ball, that was always their weakest link against Alabama and the big schools. Yep. They didn't have anybody to throw it to. And now guess what you got? When Ogeron came in, and guess who came? They got a transfer in Joe Burrow. And when he transferred in, guess what he did? He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew what to do, and he could throw the ball.
Yeah.
And that was
what's happened when they have gotten those guys in national championship appearances and wins.
Yeah, conference titles and conference championship games.
And what's happened when the guys have just been substandard to decent? Yeah. Not even in it. Not even in it.
And it's the same with Georgia. Georgia's the same way.
Yep.
They've had success recently with the QB position, and they've had just bad luck and bad breaks.
Yep.
That cost them titles
and championships and stuff.
It too. But if those would have went another way, it'd been a different story with it too. Yep. But again, that's what helps build the program with it. Again, like I said, seeing it with CU from McCartney, once McCartney left, and Neuheisel, and I forgot the other guy. That was Gary Barnett. Gary Barnett.
Yeah, Gary.
That was in there. Those guys were there to carry on the legacy. But then guess what they did? Fringe ideas, got into trouble.
Yep.
Violations, X, Y, and Z, and then guess what? It's bumpy road from there, and
it's a bunch of who.
And then they were getting they had the guy from Boise, Dan Hawkins, didn't pan out. He was great at Boise State. Came to CU.
Where
was horrible. Yep. That's with it, and that's kind of where we've been with it. From the last several years, and again, like you said, so excited to get Tucker, because he actually brought in a belief and a concept, and actually had the kids and the community to say, hey, we're going to try to build this program to where it was. It's a proud program. We do have a national championship under our belt. We need to fix this, because there's no reason why this college shouldn't be in the national spotlight anyway. But again, here you go. Guess what happens? I'm not interested in the Michigan State job. This is not going to happen. I'm here for the kids. Hello, Michigan State. Yeah. How much are you going to pay me? Oh, okay. See you later.
Nice knowing you.
Speaking of coaching changes, do you guys think Norvell has a good chance of fitting well into that Florida State job, or?
I don't know. I don't think he could do much worse.
No. Like I said, it was where they were. They needed to make a change.
Yep.
Because it wasn't going to get any better.
Yeah, Taggart was just.
Yeah, it was
awful.
It was brutal. So with him, you got to roll the dice and try to make the best you can with what you got. But there's going to be a chance he might not pan out either as well.
Yeah.
But you got to give him a couple recruiting classes to kind of get the old players out and get his players in. And then see where it goes from there.
But again, the biggest thing is, like we talked about before with LSU and other teams, where does it start? Quarterback. Who do they have? James Blackman. And look at how he's played the last couple years. The fact that he's starting still.
That bowl game last year is just.
Yeah,
but even the one this weekend, it was just like, oh man, what kind of train wreck is this?
And the fact that
and the Georgia Tech guy didn't play any better. He was just as bad, but at least he had an excuse that he's a freshman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And exactly.
And guess what? And guess what he did though? He played so poor, but he still got the W.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the thing that's with it, is that if you're able to build that, but there's no talent.
Yeah,
in that position.
And again, what really speaks to me is it's not like this just started. This dude's been playing for a while now, and look how bad he's been. Yeah, and the fact that he's still winning the starting job tells you what else they've got on the team.
Yeah.
Because you can't find something better than that. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, not since they've had Jameis with crab legs, being stuffed down his hands that they've had something to talk about there.
Yeah, even the years of Mr. Dalvin Cook here.
Oh no, Dalvin Cook was the reason why they did anything with it, because if it wasn't for him, it would have been.
Dalvin Cook's the only reason they made any form of a bowl game during the what was the coach's name? Taggart era.
Taggart, yeah.
Because of Mr. Number 4.
Well, again, that was another poor quarterback play with that.
I know Francois.
I was going to say number
12.
Yeah,
DeAndre Francois.
He had a weird name, but yeah, Francois, and it was just like he was a worse version of Jameis.
Yeah,
Jameis was like
he had some athletic,
just like he was in the NFL. He was a turnover machine sometimes, but he did put up numbers when he had to put up numbers against schools he should have put up numbers against.
Yep,
with it, and so, but that's the problem again. Is yes, you definitely need a QB to control that program.
Jameis just had the it. I mean, whether the it was bad or good, he had it.
Yeah,
and. Since then, there's been no form of the it. It's been the put a few other letters in front of the it part.
Like we were just talking about Dalvin Cook. We just recently lost Cam Akers to the draft class.
Yep.
So,
yeah. There's another guy too. Again, any reason that they made it anywhere during the last handful of years is because of Cam Akers and Dalvin Cook. I mean, because without those guys, you're not doing it on the strength of the quarterback.
No.
Because it's been just poor.
No, but that's expected. But again, that's what you see out of these elite programs is that they have the ability to get the turnover and they just don't lose a beat with it. So, I mean, between Alabama, you see Saban almost has a whole new roster every year because, his depth and everybody had gone in the NFL.
Yeah.
Same thing with Dabo Swinney and Clemson in the last several years. Again, but that's what the factory does, right? It just replaces the pieces that were there, just keeps going forward, just keeps getting better, and that's the momentum that you need to get with any program, no matter if it's big or small. Is you got to be able to get people to buy into it, and be able to recruit it correctly and move forward. I mean, prime examples just up the road here at Boise, small school most of the years. It was kind of the target what. Nevada should have been, through all these years because that's what they should have been a part of to be that powerhouse like Boise is. But what did Boise do? Got the coaches in, they got the players, they were able to recruit. I mean, I can't tell you how many Boise State players are in the NFL now.
Dude, for real.
It's going, and that's what it is, right? It's a factory up there, right? They lose players, but guess what? Here comes the next set.
And then they've even lost coaches.
Yeah.
And,
coaches have gone. Yeah, I mean,
because people look at Boise and they say, "Hey, well, that's a great start. Now, if you can make changes there, then you can do it here."
Yeah. No, like I said, that's what CU did.
Chris Peterson and some of these other guys.
Come on down. Well, he didn't. He flopped.
Yeah.
But I mean, you had the Houston the Nuts. You had the Dan Hawkins, like you said, Peterson.
Chris Peterson.
That's with it. Everybody that's been there. Has really had a successful.
And the funny thing is that, like you said, I mean, some of these guys didn't really turn out at their new jobs. I mean, the guy that you were talking about before, I'm not familiar with, but even looking at Chris Peterson, I mean, he went to Washington and he had them better than they'd been.
Oh yeah,
Washington
was in the tank for
definitely better than they'd been. But even so, he didn't really have as much success as he had at Boise at times.
No.
I mean, he had that one performance where they made it to the playoff and they got smoked by Alabama. Yeah. But apart from that, they were just mid-pack. Yeah. Maybe better than mid-pack. Better in the Pac-10. They were one of the better teams. But apart from that, it wouldn't be uncommon to see them lose the bowl game. And anytime they played anybody of noteworthy outside of their conference, they usually lost.
Yeah.
So, again, I mean, you could even make the argument that he didn't really pan out for what he could have been.
Yeah.
But just something about Boise, they make these coaches better than, in some cases, better than they really are.
Yeah.
Just something about them.
It's just people whoever they put in there to recruit and do things. I mean, like you said, you get, LeGarrette Blount, you get Joseph Dye, you just get these guys that you see them on Sundays.
Yep.
And it's just unbelievable and a great job recruiting up there.
Yep.
That's with it. But going back to your other statement, that's with it. But you can definitely see even within the power conferences, there's still a difference in talent from the SEC, the Big Ten to the Pac-12. you know what I mean? There's definitely a power loss.
Yes.
Going on the West Coast.
Yep.
With it, and I don't know if that's because, TV coverage or whatever on there, but teams like Oregon are making challenge. I mean, they'll go toe to toe with the SEC teams. And like you said, I mean, if they didn't screw up last year, they would have beat Auburn in the first game.
Yeah.
But
and if they didn't screw up a handful of years back, they could have beat Auburn in the playoff championship.
They had opportunities to put points on the board, and they failed.
They beat us in the championship.
Yeah. So I mean, it just comes down to, again, when you have opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. Mm-hmm. But they're one of those teams where it's not uncommon to see them in it and really doing things. There's a difference. There's some teams that you always see in it, but they never win. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, that's great, you made it, but who cares? Because you lose.
Yeah.
Well, Ohio State's had years where
Urban Meyer is that guy is just unbelievable, and hopefully he'll come back to USC. Oh wait, I didn't say that. And then put them back on the map. But I mean, again, the guy was a stud at Utah,
dude.
And then he went to Florida, and just rolled with that team.
Yeah.
And then guess what he did? He goes to Ohio State and does what?
Wins the championship.
Starts rolling out championships again. I mean, the dude is unbelievable.
Yep. And there's definitely something to be said, I feel, about having that guy, even if it's for a short period of time, to really put your program like, oh, okay, we should take them seriously. And then you start seeing some of these other guys that before maybe wouldn't have really been thought of start contributing and buying into your program. For instance, I feel like the Boise thing, before, I don't know how they were years ago, but I do know that since they had that time where, not only did they go unbeaten during the season, they had that win against Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I will never forget that. And since then, even though, the coaches have changed a couple times or whatever, people look at them and say, hey, they got a chance to beat anybody. Yep. Yeah, and that one statement victory and statement season and stuff puts you on the map. And from then on, you just do things. And I think Urban Meyer did that for Utah. Because I don't know how they were years ago. Obviously,
they weren't that great.
Yeah, they weren't that great. But since then, they've been legitimate.
That kind of just makes me think of schools like Appalachian State. They seem to just be able to knock these big teams off, and they're a relatively small school.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, again, it's the same thing. It's UCF, right?
Yep.
Central Florida. Another one of the schools that are picking kids.
Yep.
Out of everything, like, hey, you want to play for the Golden Knights? And they've turned that program around.
Yep.
To night and day with it. But again, that's another thing. It's that culture that they breed.
Yep.
And it's the thing that kids want to play for.
Yep.
And as usual, if you can get a team, they'll beat superstars.
Yep.
Most time, because guess what? They'll play as a team.
Yep.
Instead of like, oh, hey, look at me, I do this great. But if you get a collision of 11 kids, or 22 kids for total on both sides of the ball, that they'll usually beat anybody else that's out there. And that's what happens with these small schools, because they'll come in like, hey, nobody gives us a chance, but we know what we're doing, and we're gonna do our plan.
Yep.
And guess what? Sometimes it happens that day.
Yep.
And they come out with a W, so they get the check from the big school and they get the W.
Yep. and again, Appalachian State. There's a reason we bring them up. There's a reason we bring up Boise and some of those. I go back to Boise especially because you look at these teams, and like I said before, a lot of teams can make it, but then when they show up and just get toasted or by somebody, and it's like, well, good for you for making it, but like Cincinnati a handful of years back, they made it to the big, not championship, but they made it to a big bowl, and they got absolutely creamed. And you just look at that and thought, wow, only one loss on the season. Good job. But guess what? There's a reason you have the stigma of, oh, well, that's just because they didn't play anybody. Because as soon as you go up and you show up and you play, all of a sudden, boom, you got absolutely destroyed out there. Meanwhile, Boise, what did they do? They went undefeated and they played Oklahoma. Nobody gave them a shot. Figured it'd be another example of, hey, they look good all season because they played nobody, but once they face a real team, they're going to lose. What do? They actually win. And that happens all the time. They beat Oregon. I remember there's a couple of years where they did a home and home against Oregon or whatever. They beat them at least once, if not both times.
Yeah. They actually became the powerhouse of the Northwest.
Yeah.
They dominated Oregon, Washington, everybody up there.
Yeah, exactly. And they're beating Washington, even Chris Peterson, they beat Washington. Yep. So again, it's just one of those things where it's another thing, or it's one thing to show up or be there, but it's another thing to show up. Mm-hmm. And schools like that are what sets apart the Boise States from the Texas A&Ms, mm-hmm. who, oh yeah, look at all the talent. How come we don't get respected? Well, it's because every time you play somebody of note, see ya. You just
they're
don't
there
show
for
up.
The check.
Yeah, they're just there for the check, and they just don't show up. So, yeah. So, any final thoughts, Bennett, on the Florida State or anything else?
Man, we got Miami next week, man. It's gonna be tough.
Yep.
A lot of history in that.
Hoping that we'll get a win, but man, I'm judging by last week's performance. I'm kind of.
Well, again, it sounds like what we've seen is going to come down to quarterback play.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the few circumstances where I say keep your defense on the field and you'll be fine.
Might be.
Keep the offense off the field. Your own offense.
Our games against Miami are usually close, so I mean.
That's true. Doesn't matter who.
I expect us to be in it, but
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Whether we'll get the win, we'll see.
It doesn't matter who's good and who's bad. It's always neck and neck. Seems like so.
We'll see.
Definitely agree.
Like I said, with the late coaching change, it could be interesting for CU. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, hopefully they'll get to play. That way the kids can, at least compete in the season. That's with it, and we'll see what happens from there. Again, I don't know if the head coach is going to be a temporary or not, because again, rumors with a lot of stuff going around. We'll see what happens with the mill, with the rumor mill. I know they've been talking about Gundy from Oklahoma State being on the hot seat.
Yeah.
So if he was able to be let go, that would be a perfect show to have up in Boulder.
Dude.
Because again, might not play defense, but we hardly play defense anyway right now.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say,
might as well put up 50 on the board.
It's another one of those things.
And then he's over 40 now, and he's a man. Which would be kind of funny, So.
It's another one of those things, like we talk about before. Like, hey, we'll lose the game, but we're gonna make it exciting. Put up 45 points.
Exactly.
Something
to watch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just a typical Big 12 game.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell where their roots are located.
Exactly. And then just as long as we beat Nebraska, when we play them, that's really that's all that matters. The last 2 years have been really good.
Yep, exactly. So, and then with Alabama, like I said before, should be exciting. I'm excited to just have football back, especially college, because like I said, in some respects, my Sundays are usually kind of busy, and so Saturdays are usually pretty free. So I'm not only do I just love watching college football anyways, but I'm usually able to watch college football as opposed to Sundays, which are a little sketchy sometimes because I got other stuff going on. So I'm really excited for college football to be back. I just love when these big teams play against each other. Just the excitement and the aura in the air of just, man, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Obviously, the way the season is set up this year, who really knows what's going to happen? You got all these teams coming in at different times to play. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of a postseason for college football this year. In some respects, I kind of think instead of having all these bowl games and stuff, they should just have the conference tournament kind of like the basketball does, and just have it within your own conference instead of trying to figure out, well, this team's played more games, but they've lost one. But then again, this team's undefeated, but they haven't played as many games. So it's just going to be a mess. So I just think you just keep it within the conference, do it right. Again, you have some sort of tournament style where they just each face each other, you seed them. And I think that would be entertaining interesting and a way to make up for all the wackiness going on. But who knows? We'll see what they end up doing. Either way, super excited for the season and just whatever it will bring. Hopefully all of our teams can give us something worth talking about this season.
We'll have something to talk about.
We'll have that, even if
probably
they
won't
suck.
Be good, but we'll have something to talk about probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that being said, guys, this is Tuned In Sports. Don, Bryson,
Bennett,
and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Stay safe.